Football is a sport that lives in the heavy spaces between expectation and reality, a theater where history is written not by the grandiosity of intention, but by the cold, unyielding execution of tactical blueprints. Under the unforgiving lights of Foxborough at the Boston Stadium, the quarterfinal of the 2026 World Cup presented a narrative dripping with philosophical weight. It was a collision of two distinct footballing cultures, an elite European juggernaut seeking to cement its modern dynasty against an African powerhouse that had captured the global imagination with its romantic, resilient defiance. When the final whistle echoed through the crisp Massachusetts air, confirming a 2-0 victory for Les Bleus, the immediate emotional fallout was tangible. The French players shared measured, almost business-like embraces, the relief of progression masked by the clinical nature of their victory, while the Moroccan players collapsed onto the turf in sheer exhaustion and heartbreak. It was a match that felt less like a chaotic sporting contest and more like a high-stakes chess game played at hyperspeed, where the margin for error was non-existent and the price of a single structural lapse was absolute ruin. To truly understand why this specific quarterfinal carried such immense psychological weight, one must look past the raw data and delve into the deep historical and structural subplots defining both nations in 2026. For France, under the continuous, pragmatic stewardship of Didier Deschamps, the tournament was an exercise in legacy consolidation. The media pressure on Les Bleus is a permanent, suffocating force, demanding not just victories, but absolute perfection. Deschamps has long embraced a philosophy of defensive solidity combined with devastating transitional efficiency, a style that often draws criticism from purists but yields golden results. On the other side, Morocco entered this match bearing the dreams of an entire continent and an Arab diaspora that had rallied behind their historic exploits. Their journey to this stage was no fluke, but the weight of expectation was a silent, heavy passenger on the team bus. The historical head-to-head records always favored the Europeans, creating a psychological hurdle for the Atlas Lions, who were desperate to prove that their defensive resilience could consistently thwart the most expensive attack in world football. The tactical battle lines were drawn long before kickoff, with Morocco relying on a disciplined mid-block and rapid transitional counters led by Achraf Hakimi and Brahim Diaz, while France aimed to dominate the half-spaces through the technical brilliance of Michael Olise and Ousmane Dembélé. Every player on that pitch knew that a single misstep would not just eliminate their team, but define their international legacy for a generation. From the very first whistle, the tactical chess match unfolded with breathtaking intensity as France looked to establish their territorial dominance immediately. In the fourth minute, the first major structural crack appeared in the Moroccan defensive unit. The setup to this sequence saw France shifting into an asymmetric 3-5 possession structure, with Lucas Digne pushing high up the left flank to pin back the Moroccan defensive line, while Manu Kone and Adrien Rabiot controlled the central pivot space. This structural positioning forced Morocco into a deep, reactive low block, restricting their ability to press the ball carrier. The action materialized when Digne found space on the left and delivered an exquisite, looping cross that bypassed the central defenders and found the advancing Dayot Upamecano. The French centre-back executed a powerful, downward header aimed precisely toward the bottom left corner of the net. The aftermath of this moment showcased the world-class reflexes of Yassine Bounou, who pulled off a stunning, fingertip save to keep the match level. This early scare served as a massive psychological wake-up call for Morocco, forcing their midfield double pivot of Neil El Ainoui and Aya Bouadi to drop even deeper to protect the spaces between the lines, effectively limiting their transition options and handing absolute control of the tempo to the French midfield. As the first half progressed, the sustained French pressure inevitably led to a moment of high tactical drama in the 25th minute. The setup involved Kylian Mbappé dropping deeper into the left half-space to drag Noussair Mazraoui out of the defensive line, creating a dynamic isolation situation. Mbappé used his explosive acceleration to exploit the gap, triggering a high-press response from the Moroccan backline. The action was swift and costly, as Mazraoui committed to a desperate, lunging tackle inside the penalty box, mistiming his challenge and bringing the French captain down. Referee Facundo Teo blew his whistle instantly, pointing to the penalty spot, though a prolonged VR review followed as the officials meticulously checked the contact from a better angle. After a tense delay, the original decision stood, setting up a definitive psychological duel in the 28th minute. Mbappe stepped up to take the penalty, unleashing a sharp, low drive aimed toward the bottom right corner. However, Bunu read the body language perfectly, launching himself to the right to make a brilliant, parrying save. The immediate aftermath saw a massive surge in Moroccan morale, with the stadium erupting into a wall of sound. Tactically, this failure to convert from 12 yards momentarily disrupted the French attacking rhythm, causing a brief spell of rushing their final balls, while Morocco grew in confidence, adjusting their defensive block to shift more aggressively toward Mbappe's side of the pitch. Despite the penalty miss, France refused to let their tactical game plan unravel, continuing to probe the edges of the Moroccan low block. In the 35th minute, another dangerous penetration occurred when Desire Doué received a progressive pass on the right flank, operating in the space vacated by an overlapping Jules Kounde. The setup saw France overloading the left side to isolate Doué in a one-on-one scenario against Anas Souledine. The action saw Doué cut inside with an elegant, technical dribble, drifting past his marker before unleashing a crisp, low-driven shot toward the bottom left corner. Once again, Bunu was equal to the task, producing a sharp, diving save to push the ball past the post for a corner. The aftermath of this sequence highlighted the growing frustration within the French camp, as their high-value chances were repeatedly thwarted by an inspired goalkeeper. Just before the interval, in the 2nd minute of first-half stoppage time, France came agonizingly close once more. The setup involved a quick lateral ball circulation across the edge of the box, shifting the Moroccan block from right to left. The action fell to Lucas Digny, who picked up the loose ball and unleashed a ferocious, long-range strike from 25 yards out. The ball sailed over the outstretched arms of Bunu but rattled violently against the crossbar. The psychological consequence of going into halftime at 0-0 was fascinating, as Morocco felt vindicated by their defensive endurance, while France knew they had to find a way to convert their 48% possession into tangible goals, having already registered significant shots on target. The second half commenced with Morocco attempting to assert more control over the ball, eventually finishing the match with 52% possession and 498 passes. However, their territorial dominance lacked a cutting edge, leaving them vulnerable to the transitional triggers that France excels at exploiting. In the 60th minute, the deadlock was finally broken through a moment of individual brilliance born from a tactical transition. The setup occurred when Rabiot intercepted a loose pass from Bilal El Khanis in the central third, immediately feeding Mbappe, who was positioned in a pocket of space between the Moroccan midfield and defensive lines. The action was direct and devastating, as Mbappe drove forward, noticed the Moroccan centre-backs dropping off to protect the box, and unleashed a powerful, mid-range strike into the right side of the net. The aftermath of this opening goal changed the entire tactical complexion of the quarter-final. Morocco's conservative game plan was instantly rendered obsolete, forcing manager Mohamed Wabi to make immediate personnel changes, introducing Soufiane Rahimi and Sofiane Amrabat to inject physical intensity into their attacking transition. The match grew increasingly physical and fractured as Morocco pushed bodies forward, leaving spaces behind their defensive line. In the 63rd minute, Issa Diop committed a cynical, tactical foul to stop a French counter-attack, earning a yellow card that carried the heavy psychological consequence of a suspension for the next match, should Morocco progress. The tactical response from Deschamps was clinical, bringing on Warren Zaïre-Emery to solidify the midfield pivot. This structural adjustment paid dividends in the 66th minute. The setup involved a rapid counter-attack down the left channel, where Mbappe drew 3 Moroccan defenders toward him, leaving the far post completely exposed. The action saw Mbappe slide a perfectly weighted, unselfish pass across the box to Ousmane Dembélé. Dembélé hit a first-time shot that Bunu managed to touch, but the power carried it into the bottom right corner, making it 2-0. The aftermath of this goal effectively broke the Moroccan morale, as a 2-goal deficit against a defensively secure French side felt like an insurmountable mountain to climb. Despite the bleak outlook, Morocco showed immense pride, continuing to look for a consolation goal. In the 83rd minute, Azzedine Anahi attempted a direct free kick from 25 yards out, but Mike Maignan, who had enjoyed a quiet evening, easily handled the ambitious, on-target effort. A minute later, Achraf Hakimi delivered a dangerous, in-swinging corner that found Neil El-Ainoui, but his header flashed just wide of the left post. In the final minutes, France had multiple opportunities to add a third goal on the counter, particularly in the 88th minute when Dembele's corner found Jean-Philippe Mateta, who headed over the bar, and again in the 94th minute when Mateta was denied by another excellent Bounou save. The final whistle sealed a 2-0 scoreline, a testament to French efficiency over Moroccan possession. The post-match reality leaves both nations at critical junctures in their footballing journeys. For France, this victory is a masterclass in tournament management, proving that they do not need to dominate the ball to dominate a football match. They move into the semi-finals with an ominous sense of certainty, though the late injury to Kylian Mbappé will be a major source of anxiety for Deschamps moving forward. For Morocco, the defeat marks a cruel end to a historic run, but it also provides a valuable blueprint for the future. Their ability to outpass a midfield containing elite European talent shows that they belong on this stage, even if their lack of a clinical edge in the final third ultimately cost them a place in the Final Four. As the dust settles on this tactical battle in Boston, one burning question remains for the global football community. Did Didier Deschamps' pragmatic, low-possession approach expose a fundamental flaw in modern possession-heavy systems, or did Morocco simply lack the elite-level striker required to convert 500 passes into genuine, match-winning opportunities? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and do not forget to dissect the tactical nuances of this historic quarterfinal.